What's good, Lazy Daze family? We're back at it again with every Roman emperor from Augustus to Constantine in 24 minutes. And I believe it's by generic history. We're going to double check. By generic history videos. If you want to go see bonus content from us, go over to our Patreon. That link's in the description box down below. And of course, we're on our road to 10,000 subscribers. So help us by hitting that subscriber bell. But we're going to jump straight into this one.
Okay, let's do this as fast as we can.
Okay.
Rome was a republic for 450 years with semi-democratic, semi-aristocratic elements to it. Everything was fine until Sulla happened, and then Julius... Okay, let's do this as fast as we can. Okay, let's do this as fast as we can. Rome was a republic for 450 years with semi-democratic, semi-aristocratic elements to it. Everything was fine until Sulla happened, and then Julius Caesar happened, then the Ides of March, Cleopatra, Mark Antony, blah blah blah, the republic has fallen, all hail the princeps. What's a princeps? It's what the people actually called the Emperor of Rome, because emperor was not the word that they used. The first one was Augustus. He was actually fantastic and everyone agreed, especially him. We know this because he built monuments everywhere to how bloody fantastic he was. He uses his dream team of loyal friends to create a little golden age. Roads were built, temples restored, great works of art and literature were patronized, but most importantly, peace was maintained. No more civil wars. Instead, he put the soldiers to work conquering Germania here, and whoops, not here. He annexed Egypt by booting Cleopatra off of the historical scene. Lots of lovely grain. He didn't get along with his daughter or stepson. Got along with all his other family, though. It's just a shame that they all die before their 25th birthday because medical science is really fucking crude. And in the 1st century BC, stubbing your toe can mean the end of you. He went mad before he died and thought he was an actor in a comedy. Everyone reminded him he was emperor, but he still insisted on everyone applauding as he passed away. So we're on to Tiberius, his ugly stepson slash son-in-law. He wasn't particularly great or popular.
I'm a massive nonce.
Someone clip that.
Fuck you. Fuck you. That is going to get clipped. Fuck.
A lot of time.
Come, we go down together.
I was only the driver.
What did Kendrick say to Drake? Chubbs gets his hand-me-downs. You can have my hand-me-downs, mate.
Moaning about the amount of pressure Mummy put on him, possibly a war hero, who knows. He wasn't really interested in being emperor either. Instead, he spent most of his time on holiday in Capri where he did nonce things. Not kidding, if there's one thing this guy loved more than moaning about his overbearing mother, it was having sex with children. The head of his bodyguard tries to organise a coup against...
Okay, we joked, but that got out of left field.
I wouldn't want to go to the bathhouse with him about.
No.
Moaning about his overbearing mother, it was having sex with children. The head of his bodyguard tries to organise a coup against him, it doesn't work. His reign is generally considered harsh and horrible. Some Jewish bloke kicks up a fuss in Judea. They straight up nail the guy to wood until he fucking dies. Don't worry though, that's the last we're going to hear of him. Eventually he either dies of being old or he's potentially killed at the hands of the son of that war hero that he might have killed earlier in his reign. Either way, this guy called Gaius is emperor now. But Gaius is a boring name, so does he have any nickname? Well, when he was a child, his father's soldiers made him some little boots and nicknamed him Little Boots. So let's call him Caligula. Caligula's reign is filled with the normal things, like banging his sister and threatening to kill them, declaring war on the sea and then actually trying to kill it.
What?
Having conversations with the moon, having sex with everyone and everything, declaring himself a living god, trying to get the Jews to worship him as a... And obviously not. It's okay though, because his bodyguard stabbed him in the head less than 4 years into his reign. He also smashed his daughter's 8-month-old skull against a wall to make sure everybody knew exactly how over the rule of Caligula was. And who should...
Okay.
You lot were fucked up.
The Romans were fucked up. The Romans were fucked up big time.
Be hiding behind a curtain during the coup? Why, it's Uncle Claudius, of course. The Praetorian Guard, looking for a new princeps, make him emperor because he's a fucking idiot, and therefore will make a good puppet. What they don't know is that the actually incredibly intelligent Claudius has just been pretending to be an idiot all of these years to avoid getting openly purged by his paranoid family members. So he's a good emperor.
Smart.
He opens up citizenship to the Gauls, invades Britain, kills his wife and marries his niece. This turns out to be a bad idea though, because his niece is one of Caligula's ambitious sisters, and before long she poisons him with shroomas. She does this to ensure that her disgusting, horrible, fat, depraved, idiot, fat, stupid son, Nero, gets the throne. Nero thanks his mother by killing her. He then also kills both of his wives, and then feels bad.
Brother, the Romans, man. The Romans.
You look her on some incestuous knife crime.
Literally, you don't want to be walking past any of your family members. You just walk around the corner and you get chefed up. Like,
Jesus, you just come out from ploughing your cousin and now you're getting stabbed by your mum. But she's not doing it because you ploughed your cousin. It's because she wants her fat disabled son on the throne instead of you.
Yeah.
Fucking
Bad
Roman,
about it. So he
shut up,
castrates some
ass.
dude that looks a bit like his wife and then marries him instead.
What do you mean by that?
I'm sorry, go back to that. I'll get back
What
to
do you mean by that? Do you want to fuck your cousin by any chance?
No, but getting
I've
stabbed
seen
in
them.
the
I do. Sorry.
Leave the cousins out of it, man.
You know I'm going to go for your fam.
His son Nero gets the
I can't
throne.
go for yours,
Nero
can I?
thanks his
They're
mother.
dead.
By killing her.
Run it
He then
back,
also
run it
kills
back.
both
I
of his
think I did hear him go.
Sweet.
wives, and then feels bad about it, so he castrates some dude that looks a bit like his wife and then marries him instead. His list of accomplishments would actually look quite impressive if he wasn't supposed to be running the empire. He competed in the Olympics as a racer, fucking crashed, but won anyway because he was emperor. He performed songs and poetry for his senators and punished anyone who fell asleep. After a conspiracy to kill him is exposed, he becomes ultra paranoid and starts killing everyone. Halfway through his reign, Rome burns down and his response
picture there,
is...
like the one before it,
This one?
that
Beautiful.
would be incredible to walk down there on a sunset or a sunrise and just seeing like the genuine architecture from back in the day.
100%.
Oh my god.
100%.
Someone give me a time machine, please.
Please. Please.
Paranoid and starts killing everyone. Halfway through his reign, Rome burns down and his response is less than effective. He uses the space cleared by the fire that killed thousands to build himself a palace and then start construction on a huge statue of himself. He also starts executing people who claim to follow the word of that Jewish bloke that died about 25 years ago, but I'm sure that's the last we're going to hear from them. Eventually his own people get sick of him and the Roman Senate, who had forgotten that they had any power, declare him an enemy of the state. His bodyguard abandons him and he stabs himself in the throat. His last words being a pathetic, "The world is losing a great artist," which is inaccurate. Yes. Okay, complicated year. 69 is a very, very bad year for the Roman Empire. So firstly we have Galba. He's an old senator who's made emperor when Nero dies. Everyone thought he'd be a great emperor until he actually became emperor, and then everyone agreed that they needed to get rid of him as quickly as possible. When Nero was too flamboyant and frankly quite mad, Galba was too old, too conservative, and much too harsh. So they behead him in the streets one day because, well, that's just how far we've sunk so quickly. And his second in command...
Brother! Can I not just lose my job instead of my life?
Can you not just make me redundant?
Like, please. I don't even want redundancy. That comes with a fat payout.
Yeah, no,
I'll just take being fired.
Mate, you can't even walk down and get a loaf of bread without getting beheaded. That's so peak.
Otho takes
I've got my Hovis.
Otho is the kind of ex-party boy who goes straight and sober when he becomes emperor, ready to take the job seriously. First thing he has to do is deal with a rebellion based inside.
Nero had sent him to be a governor so he could steal others' wife and then murder her. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, wow.
But when he becomes emperor, ready to take the job seriously. First thing he has to do is deal with a rebellion by the legions on the Rhine. Sadly for Otho, this first task as emperor is too much for him, and realising his odds weren't great, and hating the idea of causing a civil war, he kills himself. The new emperor, a
Right, so 2 emperors have killed themselves. The rest
but this one was just a pussy.
I don't want to go to civil war. Yeah, fuck this.
Why not fuck off to Africa?
Bro, he could have been living.
Fat, pointless, stupid, sweaty, gambly, drinky, eaty, never done anything of note before moron called Vitellius will remark upon seeing Otho's grave, a small grave for a small man. At least Otho, by taking his own life, had managed to prevent the civil war at grave for a small man. At least Otho, by taking his own life, had managed to prevent the civil war that he was so afraid of. Only joking, the Eastern legions rebel under the banner of one Vespasian. While Vitellius's men are partying it up in Rome, Vespasian's legions are marching westwards, sack Cremona, and then get to Rome. They find Vitellius hiding in a cupboard, drag him into the street, kill him, and then he's given a fat grave for a fat man. Vespasian ends the civil strife and actually rules quite effectively. He uses the money he made from conquering Jerusalem with his son Titus to start a new construction project. This is to replace Nero's incomplete one. It's a big amphitheatre. A colossal one, in fact. A colossal one that needs a colossal name. for this colossal theatre. How about Flavian Amphitheatre? Yep, that'll do it. Vespasian is a good emperor, though. I mean, he's a bit thrifty with his money, but compared to what the Romans are used to by this point, that's hardly worth getting that upsetty about. He died.
I don't care that he spends a little bit too much. At least he's not getting people from left, right, and centre.
I will spend a little bit more if it means that I get a clean sponge on the end of a stick.
Yeah.
Every time I wipe.
Dies on his feet at the grand old age of 69, and he's replaced by his eldest son Titus. Titus had to do a couple of things first when he became emperor. This included breaking up with his girlfriend, but that's fine, he wasn't lonely or anything, because he could just start up an affair with his brother's wife instead. He finishes the Colosseum, builds some baths and an archway, and then sits back to enjoy a relaxing life as emperor in peacetime. No chances though, because Rome catches fire, so there's that. And then Vesuvius just fucking explodes one day, burying the entirety of Pompeii and causing a refugee crisis. And all of this stress kills the poor Titus when he's only 41 years old, after being emperor for only 2 years. With no children of his own, Titus leaves the empire to his youngest brother Domitian. Domitian, who had always lived in his brother's shadow and was plagued by this sense of inadequacy. Self-conscious about his baldness, so paranoid that he has every wall in his palace decorated with mirrors, so that he can always see if there's someone behind him. Domitian had never even gone on campaign with his father or brother. He was mocked for having stayed at home with the women of his family, whilst his male relatives fought wars. He was also a die-hard social conservative, deeply shocked at the moral decline of Rome. He started bricking up Vestal virgins inside walls to starve to death, and the men who had slept with them were all beaten to death with sticks. This, along with his growing paranoia, made him unpopular enough to fall victim to one of my favourite coups in Rome.
Or are they going behind the walls and giving them a good, yes, you want some bread and water?
I don't know, Jack.
I'd need, but that don't make sense to me, or have I just misheard that?
Maybe they
Bricked up
started
virgins in a wall.
Maybe
and
they
then,
started as virgins and the men weren't nice, hence why they got beaten. Do you get what I'm saying? Yeah. Maybe, I don't know.
Long story short though, they fucking stab him. This brings us to the 5 good emperors and Rome's golden age. So let's start with Nerva, who's kind of basically just an honourable mention as a good emperor. He doesn't really do anything other than build a forum. He just doesn't do anything wrong either. Yeah. His greatest accomplishment, without any doubt, is choosing an heir. With no sons of his own, Nerva adopts the Spanish general Trajan, and then thankfully dies. Okay, so your boy Trajan is emperor now. Time to take Rome to its tippity-toppity heights. Okay, Trajan fucking ruins the Dacians, adding a new province to the empire. Oh, and what's that? The Parthians are causing trouble again? Well, that's fine, Trajan just steamrolls them as well. Roads, big stick. And when he dies, the empire is larger than it will ever be. He then leaves the throne to his adopted son, Hadrian. Hadrian put all of his stats into defence. He doesn't want to conquer anything, instead he just fortifies the empire. He builds a wall to keep the Scots out, which is still effective to this day, tours the entire empire, hated Jewish people, dies in horrific agony. And he leaves the empire to Antoninus Pius, who did nothing. Like, I'm not kidding, this guy was in power for 23 years and he never even left Rome. Never fought a war or a rebellion, he just did admin, which is kind of cool, I guess.
I mean, he sounds
it's
like he
peaceful,
got lucky.
isn't it?
He got lucky.
He did get lucky, but I like if you're living through that 23 years, he didn't do any feats, but you've had a nice 23 years. And for most people, 23 years is a long part of their life. Yeah. And they're going to remember the peace for 23 years.
Someone I used to work with had worked in Aldi's for fucking gone 20 years when I left.
Yeah, crazy.
It's about 30 odd years.
He dies old, probably of boredom from having spent an entire lifetime with himself. And this means we can get to Marcus Aurelius, and his younger brother Lucius Verus. The co-emperors actually made quite a team. Marcus, the intellectual, peace-loving, shy, but deeply competent administrator, and Lucius, the hard-partying, super-popular warrior. Marcus would stay in Rome and do paperwork whilst Lucius went off to Parthia to sack cities and fight barbarians. And this was great until one day Lucius came back with weird marks all over his face. Oh, whoops, he's died of smallpox. What's smallpox, you ask? Oh, it's only an epidemic ready to wipe out a fair portion of the empire's population and cause irreparable damage to both the economy and the security of Rome. And this meant that Marcus had to go off and spend years doing what he'd always wanted to avoid, emperor stuff. Like fighting Germans. So this is what he does, and he spends a few years kicking the Germans about. He writes a very, very famous diary, and then he dies of plague age 58. Okay, so that's the end of the 5 good emperors. I guess it's all downhill from here.
Okay.
You see, Marcus Aurelius was the first emperor since Vespasian to actually have a son. So the empire goes to the 19-year-old Joaquin Phoenix. He proceeds to end the war with the Germans, undoing a decade of his father's work. He gives loads of power to his idiot friends, who then screw it up. Becomes obsessed with being a gladiator, fights in the arena with ostriches and against crippled opponents. Takes loads of lovers, drinks too much, becomes
against crippled opponents.
And ostriches.
My man can't do shit. He ain't no real gladiator.
In the arena with ostriches and against crippled opponents. Takes loads of lovers, drinks too much, becomes megalomaniacal to the extreme. He thinks he's Hercules and even dresses like him in public. Eventually, his mistress finds herself on a to-be-killed list, and with the help of the head of the Praetorian Guard, enlists a wrestler to strangle Commodus in his bath. What a perfect end. So that's another emperor murdered, but...
That one got strangled in his bath, though, brother.
Because his wife saw her name on a hit list.
Yeah.
Fucking hell, it'd be peak if it weren't even him.
Yeah.
I need to pick for a new one, though. The Praetorian Guard settle on a competent and popular old friend of Marcus Aurelius's, a man named Pertinax. Pertinax had no time for the excess that had been permitted in the 12 years of Commodus's rule. The young man had bankrupted the empire on parties, games, and debauchery, so Pertinax would put an end to that, and he took things back to how they were under Commodus's father. Okay. This is a unilaterally unpopular move because people actually like debauchery. One day, a bunch of armed Praetorians go to his house and threaten him. He comes out in his PJs and explains to them the reasoning behind his policies. And because he's such a reasonable and persuasive guy, the mob starts to go home. One of them isn't swayed though and stabs Pertinax. So that's the end of that. The Praetorians then literally auction the empire to the highest bidder. The highest bidder in this occasion being a Didius Julianus. And that's that resolved.
No! So the Praetorian, the special guard, have basically sold the empire to the highest bidder. How did they get away with that? 2 seconds, guys. How did they get away with that, Jack?
That's like someone selling the government. Or
Yeah.
no, someone selling the
No,
royal
that
family.
is. Royal family, that's it. So it's like the Parliament selling the queenship to someone else.
Korea could outbid everyone and then... Great. Yeah, cool.
Like that makes
honestly,
no sense.
I want to come visit you guys in
But
Korea.
then at the same time, I'd imagine you're the Praetorians, right? And you're like, so I make a fat bag and run.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I kind of get it, innit? Like I'm gonna sell the seat to this bloke, and then I'm gonna take the money. I'm gonna run, let him walk up to the throne, and deal with whoever says he's not the emperor.
Hey, can we just sell Sadiq Khan to the French?
I thought it would have been Rishi Sunak for you.
Nah, Sadiq Khan.
So it's moved from the
It's
Prime Minister to the Mayor of
Sadiq
London,
Khan
yeah?
to Rishi Sunak to...
You know Kim Steyer, the leader of the Labour Party, he was the mayor of somewhere, one of the boroughs in London, and done fuck all as well, so he ain't no good either.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm not saying I want him in power.
Yeah.
I'm fucking none of them.
Oh, yeah.
I see you. You haven't liked the video yet. Why not? Go on. Go like it. While you're at it, you know you want to subscribe. And if you want to go to our social medias, all the links you need are in the description box down below. And you might as well head over to our Patreon as well, where you can get extra bonus content if you're enjoying this. That link's in the description box down below. But we'll get straight back into the video. Love you guys.
Terrible.
Except it's not, because the Eastern legions all hail a man called Pescennius Niger as emperor, in Britain some guy called Clodius Albinus, and in the Balkans a huge Danube army raises Septimius Severus to the purple.
Big
Severus immediately marches on Rome, kills Julianus, and gets rid of the Praetorians who caused this mess. He then goes east to pummel Niger, who was too slow to stop him, and then north to kill Albinus, making himself the sole ruler of Rome. Severus then campaigns against the Parthian Empire, which at this point is about to collapse. His rule then goes fairly smoothly, other than a brief plot by his Praetorian prefect, but that's dealt with. He then tries to conquer Scotland, realises he can't, so he genocides them instead, and then dies in York, leaving the empire to his 2 sons. Caracalla and Geta, 2
York, apparently.
loving brothers who will rule justly, side by side.
Nope.
No, only joking. Caracalla fucking cuts Geta to pieces in front of their own mother, and then photoshops him out of any imperial monuments, destroying all records of him. He then...
Oh.
Brother, that is selfishness to the extreme.
You slay him in front of your mum, and then any art that's been done of him, you just remove him.
Yeah, because
but you are removing him from history.
Yeah, because he doesn't want anyone else's claim to the throne to be significant than his.
My guy.
Yeah, fucking people like that are just scum.
gives everyone in the Empire citizenship. and builds some baths, and that's pretty much all of it until he goes crazy, trying to emulate Alexander the Great, ordering seafood whilst miles inland, being paranoid, you know the score. This is just what it is for
seafood whilst miles inland. Fucking idiot.
emperors now. He gets stabbed age 29 by the head of the Praetorians.
Yep.
You're probably thinking to yourself at this point, hey, how come the emperor's bodyguard keeps killing the emperor? Is that a problem?
Yep.
Is anyone going to do anything to solve that?
Nope.
Well, we've just hit the 3rd century, so if anything, this is actually going to become a bit of a theme going forward. His replacement, Macrinus, is notable only for being the first non-senator to become emperor. Pretty soon after taking the throne, he has it taken away from him by Caracalla's teenage cousin, a Syrian called Elagabalus. Elagabalus was not your standard Roman emperor. He worshipped the sun and was a priest of the religion surrounding this practice. He wore makeup, had sex with everyone and everything, dressed as a woman, offered half the empire to anyone who could surgically make him a woman. He kept wild animals in his palace and would set them loose on people for fun. Got married 5 times in 3 years, twice to the same woman. And he even married a Vestal virgin in the hopes of producing divine children. So, rather predictably, the Praetorian Guard kill him and his mother when he's only 18, having ruled for only 4 years. The Principate then goes to his 13-year-old cousin.
And his mom. Yeah, because she's the bloodline. Isn't she?
Ah, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
At least he didn't fuck her.
Only 18, having ruled for only 4 years. The Principate then goes to his 13-year-old cousin, Alexander Severus. Unlike other teenage emperors, Alexander never became debauched or megalomaniacal, mostly because his overbearing mother wouldn't allow it. His court became a vibrant and exciting place, filled with the best company from around the empire.
Okay.
However, his army was not really up to scratch.
Shit.
A single military defeat against the new and improved Persian Empire, followed by an inglorious bribe that he paid to the Germans, basically destroyed Alex's credibility. So, he is killed by his own soldiers. He's replaced by the stern-faced, marathon-running, soldier-wrestling, 7-foot-tall general Maximinus Thrax. Maximinus was born to a poor Thracian family, and joined the legions when he was young. Being fucking huge, he was a great soldier, but he found his career being consistently blocked by the nepotism that was inherent in the Roman army. So, as emperor, he placed high taxes on the rich aristocrats that he hated so much, and gave all that money to his regular soldiers. He also fucking hated Christians and rounded up all the ones that he could find to become slaves in Sardinia. The Senate hate this, so they declare the governor of Africa, an elderly intellectual called Gordian, to be the new emperor. But Gordian's in his late 70s and doesn't really want to be emperor, so he raises his son up to do it instead. This is Gordian II, but sadly, second Gordian is immediately dispatched by a loyalist legion, and Gordian hangs himself. So this is bad for the Senate, who have just betrayed their emperor. Maximinus is obviously going to come and kill them all, so Italy goes into full rebellion mode, ready to make a last stand. 2 senators, Papianus and Balbinus, are made emperor along with the 13-year-old grandson of the Gordian currently hanging in Africa, who we are going to call Gordian III. Maximinus then moves into Italy with his huge and unstoppable army, and he lays siege to the first city he comes across, which is Aquileia. But the siege takes longer than expected, and Maximinus is quickly killed by his own soldiers. Papianus and Balbinus are then dragged into the
Dragged into where?
street by the Praetorian Guard and tortured to death, and then the empire is left.
Bro, they're just cleaning house, bro. Anyone who gets his position is just like, right, well, anyone you know close to you will either die with you or kill you.
The soldiers, your soldiers
bro.
are killing you left, right, and centre.
Mate, 2 of them just got dragged out in the street and slaughtered,
There's
bro.
no loyalty at
That's so
all
peak.
at this point.
Do you know, I think the Roman Empire was just pure, fuck it, every man for himself.
It would not at the start, but it did get towards
Yeah.
it did get like that. Yeah. The Roman Empire was like,
Why
okay,
would you
we'll kill
give
this person
power
and hopefully.
Why would you give power to bare, like, 13, 15, 16, 17-year-olds? No!
Well, that was just how it was back then, though, weren't it?
I know, but I think we should do it again.
left in the hands of a 13-year-old. Yeah, that's just kind of where we're at in Roman history right now. Strap in, because we are well into the crisis years. Gordian goes on campaign against Persia, where he dies suspiciously. I say suspiciously because he's only 19 years old, and the next emperor is, of course, his Praetorian guardsman, Philip the Arab.
Yeah.
Philip makes peace with Persia, paying them to just stay away for a few years, please, and then goes back to Rome to celebrate the city's 1000th birthday, which is an awesome spectacle and a great party, and it was only slightly undercut by an invasion of Gothic tribes from the north, and a rebellion on the Danube. This rebellion is actually the end of Philip. His own soldiers kill him and place the senator Decius in charge. Decius really clamps down on Christianity. Remember those guys who were obsessed with that Jewish guy who died like way back on our second emperor? Well, yeah, there are loads of them now, and the deeply conservative Decius does not like that. He also fights the Goths off, which goes really well until it doesn't, and Decius, along with his only adult son, are killed in battle. His other son is too young to rule, so the Principate goes to his second-in-command, one Trebonius Gallus. Gallus makes peace with the Goths so that he can deal with an outbreak of plague in Rome, and then he ruled for 2 years before being killed by his own soldiers. His second-in-command, Aemilius Aemilianus, doesn't even get a picture because he became emperor in June of 253 and then is killed by his own soldiers in October of 253. Next comes Valerian, who manages to stay in power more than a few weeks by being an uber-competent military commander. He leaves the west of the empire to his son Gallienus to govern, whilst he went off to sort the Persians out. On his way, he executed any Christians he could find because he thought they were the reason the gods had abandoned Rome. He beats the Persians in battle before being, oh my god, he's actually fucking captured alive by the Persian king Shapur. He makes him act as a footstool for the rest of his miserable life. His son, Gallienus, is too...
I'd rather my soldiers kill me. I'd rather my soldiers kill me.
Sources actually differ on how Valerian was treated in Iran. Some say he was treated respectively by Shapur, others say he was mistreated and eventually executed by having molten gold poured down his throat. Flailing.
Yep.
Nice.
Neither sounds
He acted as a footstool for the rest of his miserable life. His son, Gallienus, is too busy putting out fires in the west to worry about his dad in the east. You see, Gallienus was an insanely forward-thinking soldier. He reformed the Roman army to deal with the new types of threats that they were facing. He spent between 255 and 257 just crushing revolt after revolt after revolt, German tribe after German tribe after German tribe, until finally a worthy challenger rose. A general called Postumus, who was tired of not being listened to, revolted against imperial rule. Successfully, in fact, he managed to drag Gaul, Spain and Britain with him, depriving Gallienus of that tax income that he needed to pay his armies. Also, Palmyra, a city in Syria, rebelled along with most of the Eastern Empire. Gallienus' own second-in-command then betrayed him, leading to a lengthy siege of Milan. And whilst this is happening, the emperor is killed by his own soldiers. Luckily, the revolt of Milan is also brought down because the lead rebel is killed by his own soldiers. The Gallic Empire does...
Even the soldiers are getting killed by the soldiers! I know.
I can't deal with it.
It's so funny, Jack.
I'm kind of happy we didn't do a drinking game. Every time somebody's murdered by their own men, you have to take a shot.
Who are we bringing on and showing this video to? Who do you want us to get absolutely wrecked?
Comment down below who would you like to see on this, and every time they're killed by their own men, we have to take a shot. Let's see how far we get.
Even we'll play along for the second one.
I'm playing along. I'll just walk home.
You're staying here tonight.
I'm not fucking leaving.
You're not leaving.
Quite well until Postumus.
It's a 24-minute video. We'll be the drunkest we've been in ages.
I'm going to be more fucked than I was sitting on that seat when I come round a couple of days ago.
You drove round here that day and sat on my sofa.
Right. I drove round after a couple of pints and then I sat in his chair and then we had more and then I just went, oh. I fell asleep apparently on his chair.
3 hours. For 4 hours.
He's just sitting here, just, you know.
I was like, do you know what? I'm just going to let him sleep. I just stopped working away and I started editing and like doing YouTube stuff. First time Jack's ever been here when I'm doing that stuff. And he just kicked on the sofa. Got him a little blanket, everything.
That was lovely. He was proper nice, you know.
Yeah, I knew you were struggling.
But I was done for.
Say it with me now. Kill by his own soldiers. Replacing Gallienus is Claudius Gothicus. He's called this because he destroys an invading Gothic army, but then he dies of plague after only like 16 months in power. His little brother takes power for 17 days. It's just not worth it. Okay, finally, it's your boy, Restitutor Orbis, Aurelian, the absolute madman. Rules for 4 years.
I actually watched a whole series about this guy. Really. Very, very interesting.
In that time, he crushed the Palmyrene Empire twice. The Western Gallic Empire was brought back into the imperial fold, but most importantly, Aurelian noticed that there was really something to this whole monotheism thing, and he started wrapping all of the Roman deities into one super god, Sol Invictus. Nice. He builds a fancy wall around Rome, and then he is... I don't even want
Killed
to say it.
by
Thing
his
is,
own
everyone
soldier.
loved Aurelian so.
I like that. I like the choice there. The
guy's
guy,
just like, I can't be bothered to say this
to say it, and just puts it on the screen. That was a nice little editing ad. I like that.
I don't even want to say it. Thing is, everyone loved Aurelian so much that nobody wanted to take power upon his death, otherwise they'd be kind of admitting responsibility for it. So eventually they give the purple to a senator named Tacitus. He fights the Germans for about a year before dying of either plague or murder, who knows at this point. His half-brother, Florianus, took power, but only for 2 months. Useless. Killed by his own soldiers. He's replaced by a general in Asia Minor called Probus. Probus's reign is characterized by invasions on every border of the empire, but most notably Gaul, which until now had been mostly free from large-scale destruction. Probus takes the huge and awesome army that Aurelian had made back during his reign and uses it to beat all of the invaders.
Nice.
Well done. He also uses this large and well-paid source of manpower to rebuild the devastated provinces. All goes well until his Praetorian guardsmen, seemingly out of nowhere, declare one of their own to be emperor, and when Probus fails to immediately stamp out the threat, his own soldiers kill him. Because that's just how emperors die now, okay? Still, 6 years on the throne is actually a record-long reign since Gallienus, so things aren't looking good, basically. He is replaced by Carus, the Praetorian guardsman who started the rebellion against Probus. A military man from southern Gaul, he decides that his reign will be spent warring against the Persians, so he raises his sons to the purple as joint emperors. There was Carinus, a capable soldier who had fought wars on both the Rhine frontier and in Britannia, whilst carrying on rampant affairs with both sexes, and being the subject of near constant scandal, and Numerian, the younger and less accomplished of the two. He was famous as a poet, not as a soldier. So Carus and Numerian go off to Mesopotamia to butcher some Iranians, whilst Carinus stays in the west and governs. Whilst in the east, Carinus is actually struck by lightning. I mean, I doubt it, but that's the story we have, and he dies after 10 months in power. His
See, this is why it's hard to argue that history is factual. Because you're getting random accounts from someone and they're saying, yeah, he's struck by lightning, and everyone's going, yeah, that happened. Like, no.
He got killed by his own soldiers. Money on it.
Yeah, he got
Money
killed
on
by
it.
his own soldiers. Exactly.
There's been a thunderstorm in 9
Yeah,
years.
not in Iran.
son, Numerian, supposedly contracts an eye infection and needs to stay in his carriage to avoid light. After he's been shut off from the world for a few weeks, his guardsmen notice an unbearable smell coming from his litter. Okay, so Numerian, it turns out, has been fucking dead for days, and pretty suspiciously at that.
Yep.
One of the generals on the scene, a soldier from Illyria called Diocles, loudly accused a man called Aper of the murder. Diocles then murders Aper on the spot, claiming that the man couldn't be brought to trial because he would just manipulate people into thinking he didn't do it.
What?
Do we believe Diocles?
No.
Probably not. Did his soldiers on the scene believe him? Yes. Diocles is declared emperor and changes his name to the more regal-sounding Diocletian. He then marches west to fight Carinus for the empire. Although Carinus has all the advantages on his side, he also sleeps with the wives of his own commanders, who then decide to assassinate him. And this means
That's the only time I understand why the soldiers have killed him.
Absolutely.
If you're sleeping with your soldiers' wives, expect a knife in the back.
The enemy soldiers' wives, crack on, do your thing. Not your men.
As long as it's consensual.
Consensual is key.
means that finally, we can have an emperor who rules for longer than 20 minutes.
Okay.
So Diocletian changes the empire and the world completely.
Nice.
To start with, there are now 4 emperors, or rather 2 in-charge emperors called Augustuses, and 2 second-in-command emperors called Caesars. They split the empire like this.
Yep.
This way, one guy doesn't have to constantly run around the whole place dealing with every single problem himself. He also issues a maximum price edict to deal with the runaway inflation that has wrecked the Roman economy. He reforms the army, creating a militia force and a much smaller professional branch. And then instead of the long lines of fortifications that required constant maintenance and manpower, he simply fortifies the border cities of the empire and designs them to hold refugees should an invasion take place.
Nice.
He expanded the Roman bureaucracy tenfold, making it both more efficient and less dangerous. With responsibilities being spread out amongst multiple people holding different offices, it was very difficult for one person to acquire the power and influence needed to seize control of an entire province. He persecuted the hell out of Christians and Manichaeans, unprecedentedly so. He also didn't give a shit about the city of Rome, which as a capital had been diminishing in importance compared to Milan, Sirmium, Trier and Nicomedia for decades at this point. He visited it once for a few days and then never went back. But most importantly, in 305, after 20 years as emperor, he retired, and then just left to go and live in Split and be a cabbage farmer. Sadly, his tetrarchy didn't long survive him. Look, the wars of the tetrarchy...
So the stuff he done after didn't survive, but he was able
somehow
to...
he was able
he
to
was
do
able
it.
to go, I'm going to tend to my cabbages. Well played, good sir.
Well played.
Well played, good sir. So what? Your changes didn't last. They wanted to change it. You survived.
Are super complicated, so I'm just not going to go into it. But basically, 8 years after Diocletian's retirement, all but 2 of his many successors had killed each other. Constantine in the West, who was very keen on this Christian minority. In fact, he was so keen that he banned the killing of Christians. And Licinius in the East, who is not such a fan of Christianity. I don't know how much European history you're aware of, but I think we can guess whose religion is going to win here.
Yeah.
So Constantine eventually goes to war with and beats Licinius, spares him on the request of his sister, who was married to the man. Yeah, the tetrarchy got a little bit incestuous. Never mind though. But he ends up killing Licinius anyway. This severs Constantine's relationship with his sister, but that doesn't stop him from being even worse to his other family members. He kills his own son when he gets paranoid, realizes that he was just being paranoid, so he ends up blaming his wife for making him that way, and then steams her like she's a fucking vegetable. Realizing that Rome is not an ideal location...
Fucking hell. Fucking hell. Woo!
She got taken to the spa. Put me in a vegetable steamer.
In that way, and then steams her like she's a fucking vegetable. Realizing that Rome is not an ideal location for a capital, he makes a new one, which he calls New Rome. But everyone just calls it Constantinople. He ends up being so keen on Christianity that he even hosts a big council to figure out what it actually means to believe in the big God, the conclusion of which will basically define the beliefs of the Catholic and Orthodox churches from here on out. And he's even baptized on his deathbed, becoming the first Christian emperor of Rome. And so begins the Middle Ages. Christianity, burning witches, going on crusade, not killing animals to please God anymore, etc, etc. Well, not really. Rome in the West still has a good century and a half of decline to go through first. And they've even got one more pagan emperor. The eastern bit of the empire has 11 more centuries of utter hell to go through. But for my own mental health related reasons, I'll stop at the same point as many other Roman history buffs stop, and declare antiquity dead at the Council of Nicaea. Goodbye, Jupiter. Hello, Jesus. Let's see how long this one lasts. Thanks for watching.
Nice.
I like that.
That
I like
was
this
good.
guy. This guy's good.
That was very, 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 very good. Thoroughly enjoyed it. As every Roman emperor from Augustus to Constantinople. Thoroughly enjoyed it, and definitely let us know if you've got any particular series you want us to watch that covers one of those indirectly. Camera's about to turn off. So yeah, if you've got any sort of videos or series that focus on any of those emperors in particular that you want us to watch, let us know in the comments box down below. And of course, if you haven't already, go over to Generic History Videos channel. That link's in the description box down below, and you can watch loads of their different types of videos. And of course, if you want to go see bonus content of ours whilst you're down there, there's our Patreon link as well. And of course, we're on our road to 10,000 subscribers, so help us by like, commenting, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and we will catch you in the next video.
Give us reason to pay tax.